My name is Daniel Whitaker. I'm 53 years old, and I used to believe that love could survive anything, until the day my wife told me she wanted to sleep with someone else. We'd been married for 26 years. Had 2 boys. Built a house together. Built a life. And I honestly thought we were solid. Stable. Predictable in that comfortable, married 4 decades kind of way. I was wrong. It started on a Tuesday night. I came home late from the office. The lights were low, dinner was cold on the table, and Claire, my wife, was sitting on the patio with a glass of red wine and that "we need to talk" look in her eyes. That phrase is never good. She didn't stand up when I came outside. She just patted the chair next to her. I Saturday. And before I could even ask what was going on, she dropped it on me like it was nothing. "Dan," she said, "I want to open the marriage." Just like that. No build-up. No warning. No context. 26 years together, and she served it up like she was asking for a new kitchen sink. At first, I laughed. I genuinely thought she was joking. I even smirked and said, "Is this some kind of midlife crisis thing? Are we buying a motorcycle next?" But she didn't laugh. She didn't even blink. She just stared at me with those familiar hazel eyes, calm as anything. "I'm serious," she said. "I've been reading. Listening to podcasts. Watching stories of couples who've done it and thrived. It's modern. It's honest. And I think it could help us. Help us." That phrase stuck with me. Like we were broken. Like we needed fixing. And this insane idea, was somehow the answer. I stared at her for a long time, not saying a word. I remember the sound of the wind chimes. The way her wine glass trembled just slightly in her hand. She was nervous. She should have been. Finally, I asked, "Is there someone already?" She hesitated. That's all I needed. You don't hesitate when the answer is no. "Who is he?" I asked. Her face flushed. She looked down. Whispered, "It's just someone I met at yoga. It's not serious." But I felt something. And it made me realize how numb we've become. I stood up. Couldn't sit there anymore. I walked back into the house like a ghost. My legs moved, but everything felt heavy. My heart, my chest, my head, like someone had stuffed it full of cotton and bricks all at once. She followed me inside. "Dan," she said, "please don't just shut down. I didn't cheat. I came to you first because I wanted to do this right. I want to be honest. I want us to grow through this." Grow. Another word that felt like a slap. She was saying all the right, progressive things. All the therapy talk. All the online language people use when they're justifying betrayal and calling it evolution. I turned to her, still stunned. "You want permission to sleep with another man? To see where it goes? And you think we are going to grow through that?" Her eyes watered a little, but she didn't back down. "I'm not asking to destroy us," she said. "I'm asking for space to feel alive again. And you can do it, too, Dan. You could see someone. Find that spark again. We can come back together stronger." She meant it. She genuinely believed this was some kind of gift she was offering me. And maybe the worst part? For a brief moment, I considered it. I considered saying yes. Just to keep her. Just to not lose everything. But then I looked around. At the house I'd built with my hands. At the photos on the wall. At the wedding picture above the fireplace, where a younger version of us smiled like we'd conquered the world. I turned back to her and asked, "Does our vow mean anything to you anymore?" She bit her lip. Her voice dropped. It meant everything. For a long time. That was it. I didn't sleep that night. I laid in bed staring at the ceiling while she slept beside me, like nothing had happened. And the next day, I called my brother. He was a divorce lawyer. My brother didn't say anything at first. Just silence on the line, and then a deep sigh. "You want a divorce?" he finally asked. "No," I said. "At least, not yet." "Then what do you want from me, Dan?" I paused. And for the first time in years, I realized I didn't know the answer. Maybe I wanted him to talk me out of it. Maybe I wanted him to say, "This happens, you'll be fine," or "Forgive her, work it out." But he didn't. Instead, he said something that stuck with me. "You don't need to make a decision today. But you'd better start playing chess, not checkers. Because whatever she told you, it's already in motion." He was right. Claire didn't just come up with this idea overnight. She'd been thinking about it. Feeling it. Rationalizing it. Planning it. And she had the nerve to present it like a conversation. But this wasn't a conversation. It was a declaration. A warning. She'd already picked her man. And she was asking me to bless it. Later that night, I watched her from across the kitchen. She was making tea, acting normal. Like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just torn through the fabric of our marriage like it was some outdated sweater. She caught me looking. "What?" she asked softly. I said nothing. She walked over and placed a mug in front of me. Chamomile. My favorite. Like that made it better. "I want this to work," she said, sitting down. "I know it's a lot. I know it sounds insane. But I really believe it could bring us back together." "Back from what?" I asked. "You act like we were broken." Her eyes searched mine. "Weren't we?" That question lingered in the air. She saw my silence as proof. But she was wrong. I wasn't silent because I agreed. I was silent because I couldn't say what I really wanted to say. What I really wanted to do. So I nodded. Slowly. And I said, "All right. You want honesty? Let's be honest." Her face softened. Hope flickered in her eyes. "I'll need some time to figure out what this means for me," I added. "But if you're asking me to consider it, then I'll consider it." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Thank you," she whispered. I didn't squeeze back. She didn't notice. Or maybe she pretended not to. The next day, I started making calls. Not to a divorce attorney. Not yet. To a private investigator. His name was Joel. Retired cop. Clean, precise, and very discreet. I gave him a name. First and last. The yoga guy. Claire had slipped at the night before like it didn't matter. Like he was just a person. Just a maybe. But I knew better. His name was Evan Carter. Joel raised an eyebrow. "Married?" he asked. "Find out," I said. "Anything else?" "Yes," I said. "I want to know everything. Where he goes. Who he sees. What he does for a living. His credit score if you can get it." Joel smirked. "Now we're talking." Over the next week, Claire began acting lighter. She played music while cooking. She wore lipstick again. She laughed at dumb sitcoms and complimented my shirts. But it wasn't for me. It was for her. For her guilt. Her way of telling herself, "See? I'm being honest. I'm doing it the right way." She had no idea I was 5 steps ahead. She had no idea I knew about the weekend plans. Joel sent me photos. Claire and Evan. At a quiet cafe outside the city. Same table. Same chairs. Same wine. Different man. Different smile. That smile, it wasn't the one I got in a mall. His car. A white Tesla. New. Leased. Lives alone in a townhouse. Works remote. Entrepreneur. Probably sells supplements online or some crypto garbage. No kids. No spouse. A man with too much time and not enough wisdom. Perfect target. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I changed the Wi-Fi password. She asked about it later that night. Oh, I said. Probably just a router issue. I changed the Netflix account. Made a new profile, a guest. She asked, "Where's all our stuff?" Must have reset, I said. She stared at me. Suspicious, but not enough to dig deeper. And then, she said something that almost made me laugh. I invited Evan over for dinner. I blinked. You what? Just once, she said quickly. I want you to meet him. So it doesn't feel weird. So you know who he is. I stared at her. And slowly, smiled. Sure, I said. Let's have dinner. She looked relieved. Grateful. Like I was the world's most understanding husband. But I was already setting the trap. The night of the dinner came fast. I wore my best shirt. Claire made salmon. Evan brought wine. He looked exactly like I expected. Tall. Smug. That quiet confidence that only men in tight jeans and self-help podcasts can muster. He extended a hand. I shook it. Firm. Not too firm. He smiled. I really appreciate you being open-minded about this, Daniel. I smiled back. Oh, I'm all about open. Claire shot me a warning glance. I just nodded toward the table. Let's eat. We made small talk. He talked about his ventures, about life balance, about spiritual alignment. I asked him what he did before entrepreneurship. He said he worked in tech. Translation, he got fired. I kept smiling. Kept pouring wine. Watched them laugh. At one point, she touched his arm. I didn't flinch. I just got up, and poured more wine. After dessert, Evan excused himself to the bathroom. Claire leaned in. Are you okay? She asked. I'm fine, I said. I know this is a lot, she added. But you're handling it so well. I looked her dead in the eyes. Just doing what you asked, Claire. She hesitated. Something shifted in her face. A flicker of discomfort. But then Evan returned. Smiling. Relaxed. Thank you again, he said to me. Really? I nodded. Of course. They left together. She claimed she was driving him back. Said she'd be home late. I told her, take your time. She smiled. That smile again. Then she was gone. And I sat there, staring at two empty wine glasses. One of them had lipstick on the rim. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, listening to the silence of the house. The hum of the refrigerator. The tick of the hallway clock. The absence of her footsteps. She didn't come home until 3:27 a.m. I know that because I watched the time change. Minute by minute. She tiptoed in like a teenager breaking curfew. Shoes in hand. Keys in one palm. her purse in the other. Quiet. But not quiet enough. She didn't know I was awake. Or maybe she hoped I wasn't. She didn't even look toward the bedroom. Just crept down the hallway and slipped into the guest room. Door shut. Click. I closed my eyes. And something inside me, something I thought had died long ago, clicked open. A part of me I hadn't used in decades. A colder part. Calculating. Strategic. The soldier. In the morning, I made breakfast. Eggs. Toast. Coffee. She appeared around 9 a.m., wearing a hoodie and sunglasses. She smiled like it was normal. "Hey," she said casually. "Morning," I replied, flipping a pancake. "You made breakfast?" "Yep. Smells good." She poured herself coffee, avoiding eye contact. I didn't push her. Didn't ask where she'd been. Didn't ask if she'd showered. Didn't ask if Evan's cologne was still on her skin. No. I just slid a plate in front of her. And said, "We should set some rules." She blinked. "Rules?" "For the open marriage," I said. "You wanted structure." "I think it's only fair." She hesitated, then nodded. "Okay," she said. "That's reasonable." I sat down across from her. Pulled a notepad from the drawer. And began to write. Rule 1. No bringing partners into the house. Ever. She nodded slowly. Fair. Rule 2. We continue to split finances equally. No joint spending on extracurriculars. Of course, she said. Rule 3. Weekly STD tests. Mandatory. Proof required. That one hit. Her face twitched. But she nodded again. If that's what makes you comfortable. It makes me safe, I said flatly. She looked down. I kept writing. Rule 4. If either of us wants to stop, it has to be mutual. No one-sided reversals. You mean, if I want to end it, but you don't? Exactly. She frowned. But what if one of us realizes it's a mistake? I looked her dead in the eye. Then we live with it. She was quiet after that. No protest. No fight. Just quiet. That day, I cleaned out the attic. Not for nostalgia. For space. I packed away old photos. Trophies. School projects. Tucked our wedding album in a box labeled Archives. Rearranged everything into a clean corner. Because I had a plan. And plans need room. I went out that evening. Didn't say where. Didn't say when I'd be back. Just grabbed my keys and left. She watched me go from the kitchen, hands wrapped around a coffee mug like it could protect her. I didn't even glance back. My first stop was a bookstore. Not for books. For people. For conversation. For practice. I hadn't flirted in decades. But I remembered how. I struck up a chat with a woman in the travel section. She laughed at my joke about overpriced luggage. Gave me her number. That was all I needed. A spark. A reminder. I wasn't dead. Claire wanted an open marriage? Fine. Let's see how open she can stand it. Over the next 2 weeks, I changed everything. My wardrobe. My haircut. My routine. I started boxing again at the old gym downtown. Started wearing cologne again. Started smiling in public, just enough to catch attention. And I started dating. But not recklessly. Not like Claire. She chased freedom like a teenager sneaking out the back door. I moved like a man with a strategy. I went on quiet dinners. Low profile. No social media. No mess. Until I met Ava. She was sharp. Older than Evan. Closer to my age. She owned her own business. 2 kids in college. Divorced for 5 years. She didn't play games. We had coffee the first time. Wine the second. Dinner the third. By the fourth, it wasn't just a date. It was clarity. I liked her. Genuinely. Not just to get even. Not just for the scoreboard. But because she reminded me of something I forgot I had. Options. Meanwhile, Claire started slipping. She thought she was subtle, but I could see it. She stayed out later. She started hiding her phone. She laughed louder when Evan texted. But she was also more jumpy. She started asking where I was going. Who I was texting. One night, she knocked on my office door. "You're dressing differently," she said. "I like the change." "Are you seeing someone?" I paused. Looked up from my laptop. And smiled. I thought that was the point. Her face fell. Just slightly. She masked it with a nod and turned away. But I saw it. The first crack. Joel kept feeding me updates. Turns out Evan had a history. A messy one. Old restraining order. Not criminal, but not great. Financial issues. A failed startup. A lawsuit from a former partner. Nothing Claire knew. Nothing she would have bothered to Google. Because when people want a fantasy, they don't check the facts. They just dive in. I printed everything Joel gave me. Put it in a file. Labeled it Claire's Freedom and slipped it into my safe. Insurance. Just in case. 3 nights later, I came home late. Ava had kissed me goodnight in the rain. And I felt alive. I walked into the house quietly. Claire was in the living room. Alone. Staring at her phone. She looked up as I entered. "You weren't answering." "I was busy." She hesitated. "Busy with who?" I set down my coat. Met her gaze. "You really want to know?" She didn't answer. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. I poured myself a drink. Then sat across from her. And said, "Her name is Ava." Her lips parted. But no words came out. I continued. "She's a business owner. Smart. Funny. Independent. And she's not hiding anything from me." Silence. Then, finally, she whispered, "So this is real for you?" "It's getting there," I said. Her hands trembled. And I felt it. Not joy. Not victory. Just confirmation. She thought she'd opened a door for both of us. But she never thought I'd walk through it and find something better. Claire didn't speak for almost a full minute. She just stared at me. Like I'd slapped her. Like she couldn't compute what she was hearing. Then she finally said it. "So, you really doing this?" I sipped my drink. Calm. Steady. "You asked me to." "That's not," she started, then stopped. She swallowed. "This isn't what I meant." I raised an eyebrow. "You said you wanted to feel alive again. You said we should both explore. Remember?" She looked away, eyes glassy. "That was supposed to bring us closer." I leaned back in the chair. "No, Claire. That was supposed to give you permission. You just didn't think I'd use it. She flinched. And that's when I saw it. The fear. The regret. The slow unraveling of a plan she thought she controlled. She opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. I stood. I'm going to bed, I said. If you want to talk tomorrow, really talk, you know where I'll be. And I left her sitting in silence. The next morning, she was already in the kitchen. Showered. Hair curled. Makeup on. She hadn't done that in weeks. She was making breakfast. Like it was 2012 again. Good morning, she said brightly. Too brightly. I sat across from her. Said nothing. She placed a plate in front of me. Omelette. Toast. Orange slices. Just the way I liked it. I thought we could eat together. Like old times. I took a bite. Chewed. Swallowed. Then I asked, does Evan know about Ava? Her hands froze. Just for a second. I haven't told him, she said. I didn't think it mattered. It matters, I said. You wanted honesty. I gave it to you. She nodded, eyes lowering. Then she said, softly, can I ask something? Sure. Is she younger? I wiped my mouth with a napkin. She's 48. Claire blinked. That caught her off guard. I thought she'd be, like, in her 20s or something. I chuckled once. No. That's your guy's style. Not mine. Her cheeks flushed. I stood, placed my plate in the sink. And added, you should tell him. About Ava. If he doesn't know, it means this whole thing wasn't honest to begin with. She didn't reply. That afternoon, Joel called me. He sounded amused. You're not gonna believe this, he said. Try me. Your wife's lover? Evan? He's also seeing someone else. I blinked. What? Yep. Another woman. Name's Tanya. Blonde. Mid-30s. Works at his old tech company. They've been seen together more than once. Same hotel. I leaned against my desk. You have proof? I'll send photos in 5. I ended the call. And smiled. Not because I was happy. But because the house of cards was already collapsing, and I didn't even have to touch it. Claire didn't mention Evan that night. She acted off. Distracted. I knew she knew. Or at least suspected. So I waited. It came 3 days later. I was in the garage, fixing a loose shelf, when she walked in. Pale. Shaking. I need to talk to you. I wiped my hands and turned. Her voice trembled. Evan's been seeing someone else. While he's been with me. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. She kept talking. Her name is Tanya. I saw a message on his phone while he was in the shower. I asked. He admitted it. I just stared. Let her spiral. He said we weren't exclusive. That this whole thing was about freedom. That I should have expected it. Still, I said nothing. She looked up at me, eyes rimmed red. And I realized. I don't want this. Any of it. I crossed my arms. Why? Because now it hurts? No, she said. Because I was wrong. About everything. I walked past her and grabbed a wrench. She followed. Dan, please. I want to stop this. I want to go back. I don't care about Evan. I don't care about open marriage. I want you. I turned and said, quietly, I don't think I want you anymore. She staggered like I hit her in the stomach. Her voice cracked. But we can fix this. I shook my head. You didn't break a window, Claire. You burned the foundation. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I didn't sleep with him until after you said it was okay. I swear. I believed her. Didn't matter. The betrayal wasn't in the timing. It was in the choice. The moment she looked at me and said, I want someone else. That's when she lost me. I turned back to the shelf. And said nothing more. She stood there a moment longer. Then left. That night, Ava called me. She could hear something in my voice. You okay? I nodded, even though she couldn't see. Yeah. Just closing some doors. She was quiet for a second. Then said, You want to come over? I did. Not because I was running. But because I was finally walking away. The next week, Claire tried everything. Dinners. Conversations. Texts during the day. She bought new clothes. Sent me old photos of us. Even played our wedding song one night while I came home. But it was too late. Because I'd seen what she was capable of. Not the affair. Not even the selfishness. But the ease. The way she turned it all into a proposal. Like it was fair. Like I should be grateful. No apology. No remorse. Just freedom, served on a plate, wrapped in modern language. She thought I'd say yes and fade quietly. She thought I wouldn't change. But I did. She just didn't like what I became. The breakdown began on a Thursday. I came home late. Again. Same routine. Keys on the counter. Jacket over the chair. But that night, Claire was waiting. Sitting in the dark. No lights. Just the blue glow of the TV playing some documentary she wasn't watching. She didn't turn her head when I walked in. Didn't say hello. Just waited. I stood there in silence. Waiting, too. Finally, she spoke. Soft. Flat. I saw you with her. I didn't respond. She turned toward me slowly. I followed you. Last night. I met her eyes. And? Her voice trembled. You looked happy. I nodded once. I was. A pause. Then she stood up and walked toward me. Barefoot. Eyes rimmed red. Her voice cracked. I can't do this anymore. Do what? This. Us. You dating. Me pretending. Evan's gone. I haven't seen him in days. I blocked his number. I made a mistake, Dan. She was crying now. I made the worst mistake of my life. I stayed silent. Because I needed to hear it all. She pressed her hands together like she was praying. I thought I needed something new. Something exciting. But it wasn't real. None of it was real. He didn't know me. He didn't care about me. It was just a phase. And I ruined everything. Her shoulders shook. I want to go back. I inhaled through my nose. Exhaled slowly. You can't. Why not? Because I did go forward. She blinked. I moved on, Claire. She stepped closer. No. You think you did. But you haven't. You just angry. I shook my head. I was angry. Now I'm clear. She touched my arm. I didn't move. Please, Dan. Let's just start again. I looked at her hand. Then into her eyes. Start again with what? With trust? With vows you already broke? She shook her head, crying harder now. I didn't cheat. You know that. I nodded. I know. But you were willing to. Her lips trembled. And that's the same to you? It is now. She dropped her hand. Took a step back. Like the weight of her choices had finally caught up. I walked past her. To the kitchen. Opened the fridge. Poured myself a glass of water. She followed. Stood in the doorway. I told my sister, she said, quietly. Told her what? Everything. The open marriage. Evan. You. The rules. All of it. I looked up. And what did she say? She said I was insane. I almost smiled. But then, Claire added, she asked if there's still a chance to fix it. I leaned on the counter. She asked the wrong question. Claire furrowed her brow. What do you mean? She should have asked if I even wanted to fix it. Claire stepped forward. Do you? I didn't answer right away. I let that question breathe in the air between us. Then I looked her in the eyes and said, I don't think I love you anymore. She broke. Not gently. Not quietly. She collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Fists clenched. Face in her hands. And I stood there. Watching. Listening. And feeling nothing. Later that night, she tried again. She came into our bedroom. Stood in the doorway like a stranger. I don't want a divorce, she said. I didn't look up. I was reading. Then don't file one. She hesitated. I want you to stop seeing her. I turned the page. And I wanted you not to ask for an open marriage. Silence. I continued reading. After a minute, I heard her leave. Door closed softly. And I slept like a rock. A week passed. She avoided me. Or maybe I avoided her. Hard to say. We were ghosts now. Two people in the same house, living completely different lives. One night I came home to find a letter on the kitchen table. Written by hand. No envelope. Just folded neatly. My name on the front. I opened it. And read. Dan. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't expect anything anymore. But I needed to say this, because I'm drowning in the silence. I thought I wanted freedom. But what I really wanted, was to be seen. Heard. Touched like a woman again. You stopped holding my hand, Dan. You stopped asking how I was. And I didn't know how to say it out loud without sounding needy. So I acted out. I tried to shock you back into loving me. And all I did was push you further away. I hate what I did. I hate what I became. And I'll carry that weight forever. If you never love me again, I understand. But I wanted you to know. I do love you. I never stopped. Claire. I folded the letter carefully. Set it aside. And stared out the window. I believed her. That was the tragedy. She really did love me. She just didn't respect me enough to act like it when it mattered. The next morning, she was sitting at the dining table. No makeup. No tricks. Just her. I'm going to stay at my sister's, she said. I nodded. She didn't wait for a reply. She grabbed her bag. Walked to the door. Hand on the handle. Then she looked back. Tears in her eyes. I hope one day you can remember the good parts. I met her gaze. I do. And I did. But I also remembered the night she asked me if she could be with someone else. I remembered that look in her eyes. The calculation. The detachment. The assumption that I would say yes, because I was safe, and she was bored. And I couldn't unsee that. Not now. Not ever. The house was quiet again. Too quiet. For the first time in months, there was no tension. No passive-aggressive glances across the dinner table. No echo of heels clicking down the hallway at midnight. No muffled phone calls behind closed doors. Just me. And silence. It should have felt peaceful. It didn't. It felt hollow. Not because I missed her. But because 26 years of noise don't just disappear without leaving a mark. I sat in the living room, staring at the blank TV screen. Not watching. Just sitting. Then my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number. But I answered anyway. Hello? A soft voice. Familiar. Dan, it's Ava. My posture straightened. Something in her voice was off. Took you long enough to call, I said, trying to sound light. She didn't laugh. Can we talk? I stood up. Walked toward the window. What's going on? She exhaled. You going to be a father? Silence. It didn't register right away. My brain paused. Rebooted. What? I found out 2 days ago. I wanted to be sure before telling you. Still, I said nothing. I heard her swallow. I know this wasn't planned. I know things are complicated. But I'm keeping it. I leaned against the wall. Stared at the driveway outside. Empty. Just like my mind in that moment. You sure? I asked quietly. Yes. Another long silence. She added, I'm not asking for anything. I wanted you to know. I closed my eyes. And said the only thing I could. Thank you. For telling me. Her voice softened. I'm scared, Dan. I nodded. So am I. We talked for an hour. Not about logistics. Not about names. Just about the shock. The fear. The weight of becoming a parent again, in my 50s. But even under all that, somewhere, I felt something else. Something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Not because it was easy. But because it was real. The next day, I told my brother. He laughed so hard, he dropped his pen. You? Yep. How old is she? 48. He whistled. Well. At least you didn't go full midlife crisis. That's respectable. I rolled my eyes. Then he got serious. You okay? I don't know. But are you happy? I paused. Really thought about it. Then said, yeah. I think I am. I told Ava I'd be there. Through everything. Appointments. Late nights. Diaper changes. All of it. She cried when I said that. Not from fear. But from relief. She'd done everything on her own for years. She didn't expect help. And I think that's why I offered it so quickly. She wasn't asking for a savior. She just wanted a partner. 3 weeks passed. Claire didn't call. Didn't text. She stayed gone. And the space helped. Helped me breathe. Helped me feel again. I went through our closet and boxed up everything she left. Her perfume. Her books. Her favorite cardigan. All of it. Into sealed tubs. Stacked in the garage. Out of sight. Not out of memory. But out of reach. Then one morning, I got another call. Not from Ava. Not from Joel. From Claire. I almost let it go to voicemail. But something in me picked up. Hello? Her voice was quiet. Worn. Dan. I stayed silent. I didn't call to beg. I wanted to say something. I sat down. Waited. She continued. I've been thinking a lot. About us. About everything. And I realize now that I didn't just ask for an open marriage because I was bored. I did it because I felt invisible. She paused. I wanted to matter again. To someone. Her voice broke slightly. And I know that's not fair to you. You didn't deserve to be punished because I didn't know how to communicate. I still said nothing. She kept going. I'm not asking for a second chance. I think we both know that ship sailed. Then she inhaled. But I am asking for one thing. Finally, I spoke. What is it? If the baby needs anything, if she needs anything, tell her she can call me. That surprised me. Genuinely. I thought you hated her. I don't, she said softly. I envied her. Still do, a little. But I don't hate her. A beat of silence. Then I asked, why are you really calling, Claire? More silence. Then, because I miss who we used to be. And I needed to hear your voice one last time before I let go. I swallowed. Tight in the throat. Take care of yourself, I said. You too. And she hung up. Just like that. No drama. No final jab. Just silence again. But this time, it felt different. That night, I sat on the porch. Cool air on my face. Stars overhead. And I let it all wash over me. The grief. The anger. The shock. The strange joy. It all blended together. And out of that mess came one clear thought. This is my second chance. Not to fix the past. Not to rewrite the mistakes. But to do it better. Now. It happened on a Sunday morning. Gray skies. Light rain. I had just poured my first cup of coffee when Ava called. Her voice was breathless. Panicked. Dan. I think it's happening. I froze. Your water broke? Yes. You sure? She let out a half laugh, half whimper. Very. I'm coming. The hospital was 20 minutes away. I made it in 12. She was already in a wheelchair when I arrived, hands gripping the armrests like they might float away. Her eyes met mine the second I walked in. I'm scared, she said. I know. I bent down. Took her hand. But you're not alone. She squeezed back. And didn't let go. Labor was long. 16 hours. I stayed by her side the entire time. Wiped sweat from her forehead. Spoke calmly through every contraction. Whispered encouragements when she wanted to give up. And when it was finally time, the room changed. Monitors beeping. Nurses rushing. A doctor stepping in. They told me to stand near her head, but she grabbed my wrist. "No," she whispered. "Stay right here." So I did. And a few minutes later, I watched life enter the world. He came out crying. Angry. Loud. Strong. The nurse wrapped him quickly and placed him in Ava's arms. She was shaking. Sweating. Smiling through tears. And then she looked at me. "Do you want to hold him?" I nodded. But I couldn't move right away. My legs were rooted. Not from fear, but from awe. She placed him gently in my arms. He was so small. Warm. Heavy with meaning. I looked down at his face, red and wrinkled and furious. But perfect. I felt something unlock in my chest. Something that had been rusted shut for years. This wasn't redemption. This was rebirth. And not just for him. For me. We named him Kevin. A simple name. Strong. Kind. I spent the first night sleeping in the recliner next to Ava's bed. Or trying to. I couldn't stop looking at him. He slept in a bassinet just a few feet away. Every little sound he made pulled my eyes open. I checked his breathing. His blanket. His fingers. He was real. This was real. And for the first time in a long, long time, I wasn't thinking about Claire. Or pain. Or betrayal. Just now. Just him. When we brought Kevin home, I carried him inside like glass. Ava was exhausted. But glowing. She collapsed on the couch and let her head fall back. I laid Kevin in the crib we built together. Then sat beside her. "Thank you," she said, eyes half closed. "For what?" "For not running." I smiled. I was already tired of running. She reached out and held my hand. And in that moment, everything else fell away. No scars. No guilt. Just a new family. Just peace. But peace never lasts forever. 2 weeks later, Claire called again. I didn't answer. She texted the next day. "Is the baby okay?" I replied simply. "Yes. He's healthy. His name is Kevin." She didn't respond. For 3 days. Then came another message. "Can I meet him?" I stared at the screen for a long time. What did she want? Closure? Forgiveness? Or just proof that I'd really moved on? I didn't know. So I asked Ava. She looked up from the baby, calm and direct. "If you want her to see him, I'm okay with it. But only if it's for you. Not for her." I nodded. She always knew how to cut through the noise. I sent the reply the next morning. Not yet. Claire didn't argue. Didn't push. She just sent back one word. Okay. Days turned into weeks. Kevin grew quickly. His eyes began to focus. He smiled for the first time on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. And I wept quietly when no one was looking. Because that smile, it wasn't for me. It was just his. Untouched by the past. Free from the mess that brought him here. He didn't know about betrayal. Or broken vows. Or late-night arguments whispered behind walls. All he knew was warmth. Food. Arms that held him close. And to him, I was just Dad. Not Daniel the ex-husband. Not the man Claire hurt. Just Dad. And that was enough. More than enough. One evening, while Ava was in the shower, I stood at the window with Kevin in my arms. The sunset was soft. Orange. Faint. Kevin's head rested on my shoulder, barely awake. I whispered to him. I don't know what kind of man you'll become. But I promise you this. I paused. Held him tighter. You'll never have to earn love the hard way. He let out a small sound. Almost like agreement. I smiled. Then gently rocked him until he drifted off. And as I watched his tiny chest rise and fall, I realized something important. This wasn't the second chapter. This was a new book entirely. Different story. Different voice. And I was ready to write every page. It had been almost 4 months since Kevin was born. We had found a rhythm. Feedings at 2 a.m. Diaper changes on autopilot. Short walks in the park. Small moments of quiet joy. Ava and I barely talked about the past anymore. Not because we were avoiding it, but because the present was finally louder. More alive. And then one afternoon, the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Ava was upstairs, rocking Kevin to sleep. I opened the door slowly. And there she was. Willow. Claire's daughter. My daughter. Our daughter. Standing on my porch. Hands in the pockets of a denim jacket. Hair tied back. Eyes locked on mine. I didn't say anything. Neither did she. For a moment, the wind did all the talking. Then she said it. Soft. Bitter. You replaced me. I blinked. What? She stepped forward, arms crossed now. I saw the photos. On Facebook. Of the baby. Of her. Of you smiling like none of this ever happened. I stayed calm. Because that's all I had left with her. Calm. Willow, I didn't replace anyone. She scoffed. You had a child with another woman. You call that what? A reset? I didn't respond. She wasn't here for logic. She was here for a fight. She looked past me, into the house. Is he inside? I nodded once. She took a slow breath. You didn't even tell me. I didn't think you wanted to know. That hit her. Hard. But she didn't show it. Not yet. She turned away. Looked at the front yard. Then back at me. Mom's not doing well. I nodded slowly. I heard. She doesn't say it, but I know. She's ashamed. She's not the same. I leaned on the doorframe. I'm sorry to hear that. Willow shook her head. You're not sorry. You wanted her to feel it. You wanted us both to pay. I exhaled. I wanted space. You gave me anger. You chose her side. You called me a dinosaur. She blinked. I was stupid. I didn't get it back then. You didn't want to. Silence. Then she said, she cries a lot. I nodded. I believe you. And she talks about you. Still. About how she ruined everything. More silence. Then Willow's voice cracked. She's still my mom. I never said she wasn't. Tears welled in her eyes. I just wish she hadn't broken you first. I stood there. Still. Letting her say it. Letting her feel it. Then I stepped aside. Opened the door wider. You want to meet your brother? She looked up sharply. Eyes wide. You'd let me? I'm not here to punish you, Willow. I'm just trying to live. She hesitated. Then nodded. Walked inside. Quiet. Cautious. Ava was in the nursery, humming softly. She looked up when Willow entered. And froze. Willow froze, too. They stared at each other. Two women. One room. One baby between them. Ava spoke first. Hi. Willow swallowed. Hi. A long pause. Then Ava looked down at Kevin, still asleep in her arms. She stood, walked slowly toward Willow, and said, "Would you like to hold him?" Willow looked at me. I gave a small nod. And she reached out with trembling hands. He was heavier than she expected. Warmer. Softer. He shifted slightly in her arms but didn't wake. Willow stared down at him like he was a painting. A story. A beginning she never saw coming. He looks like you, she whispered. I know, I said. Tears rolled down her cheeks. And she didn't wipe them. I don't know how to feel right now. You don't have to know, Ava said gently. Just feel. Willow looked up at her. And something in her expression softened. As if years of tension dissolved into that single moment. She sat down in the rocking chair and held Kevin close. And for the first time in years, there was peace between us. Real peace. Later that evening, Willow stayed for dinner. Nothing fancy. Pasta. Salad. Garlic bread. She didn't say much. But she stayed. And before she left, she asked quietly, "Can I come again sometime?" Ava smiled. I nodded. Of course. At the door, Willow turned to me one last time. Dad. It had been a while since she called me that. I'm sorry. I nodded. I know. And then she left. After she was gone, Ava stood beside me in the doorway. You okay? She asked. I nodded. She's growing. Ava leaned her head on my shoulder. And so are you. We stood there in the fading light. The house behind us. Quiet. Still. But no longer broken. Just different. Healed in strange, imperfect ways. And as Kevin cried out softly from the nursery upstairs, I realized something. The past never disappears. It just finds its place. And if you let it, it can live beside the future. Without ruining it. The message came on a Wednesday evening. Short. Simple. Can we talk? Just once. No drama. Claire. I stared at it for a long time. No typing dots. No follow-up. Just those 9 words. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I watched Kevin sleep for a while. His chest rising and falling like the tide. So small. So unaware of the wreckage that came before him. A clean page. Eventually, I replied. Tomorrow. 5 p.m. Public place. She answered within a minute. Okay. Where? I picked a cafe near the river. Neutral. Open. Safe. A place where no one could yell. No one could cry too loudly. And maybe, no one would break. The next day, I got there early. Ordered black coffee. Sat by the window. Watched people pass. Watched the river move. Watched the second hand of my watch. At 4:59, she walked in. Hair down. No makeup. wearing a long grey coat I'd never seen before. She looked tired. Not sick. Not weak. Just older. More real than I remembered. She spotted me. Walked over. Didn't ask to sit. She just did. Across from me. Hands folded tightly on the table. We sat in silence for a bit. Then she said, "Thank you for coming." I nodded. She looked out the window. I didn't expect to feel so nervous. "Why are you nervous?" "Because I don't know how to start." I let her sit with that. Eventually, she continued. "I've been in therapy." I raised an eyebrow. She smiled faintly. "Yeah. Took me long enough." "I'm glad." She looked down at her hands. "I talk about you. A lot." I didn't respond. She kept going. "At first, I thought I needed to fix us. But now, I'm trying to understand who I was. Who I became." I sipped my coffee. Waited. She looked up again. "I was selfish. I was bored. I was scared of aging. Scared of fading into the background." She paused. "And instead of talking to you, I lit a match and stood back to watch what would burn." I stared at her. Still. But listening. Always listening. Claire's voice shook now. "I thought you'd stop me. That you'd get angry. Demand I come back. Fight for me." She looked away. "But you didn't." I set the cup down. "You didn't leave room for that." She nodded slowly. "I know." Another long pause. The cafe buzzed softly behind us. Dishes. Laughter. Steam from the espresso machine. Life moving on. She wiped under her eye. "I don't expect anything. Not forgiveness. Not friendship. Nothing." She breathed in. "I just wanted to see you again. To say something while I still had the courage." She hesitated. Then added, "Willow told me about the baby." I nodded. She said he's beautiful. He is. Does he know who I am?" "Not yet." Claire smiled sadly. "Maybe that's for the best." We sat in silence again. But it wasn't heavy this time. It was clean. Soft. Like snow falling on everything that used to burn. Then she said something I didn't expect. "I'm proud of you." I blinked. She smiled gently. "I am. For how you held it together. For how you raised your voice without yelling. For how you protected your future without trying to destroy mine." I swallowed. Hard. She reached into her coat pocket. Pulled out a small envelope. Slid it across the table. "What is this?" "A letter. For Kevin. To open when he's older." I looked down at it. Didn't touch it right away. "Claire. I know I don't get to be part of his life. That's not what this is. I want him to know who I was. Before. And after. Even if it's just a whisper on a page." I picked up the envelope. Held it lightly. "I'll keep it safe." She exhaled, almost shaking. Then she stood. "Goodbye, Dan." I stood, too. Looked at her for a long moment. Then said, "Goodbye, Claire." No hugs. No handshakes. Just two people. Two souls who had once tried their best. And failed. But now, finally, understood each other. She walked out of the cafe without looking back. And I let her. That night, I didn't tell Ava right away. I just held Kevin a little longer than usual. Watched him sleep. Stroked the soft fuzz on his head. And thought about the letter sitting in my coat pocket. A piece of someone else's past. Now part of his future. Maybe he'll read it one day and ask questions. Maybe he won't. Maybe he'll fold it up and put it in a drawer. Or maybe he'll carry it in his wallet like a strange artifact. Whatever he does, I'll be ready. Because that chapter is closed now. Not with revenge. Not with bitterness. But with quiet. With honesty. With the kind of ending most people never get. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. Time passed. As it always does. Kevin grew fast. He was walking before he turned 1. Talking before 2. By 3, he was a storm. Loud. Curious. Unstoppable. He called me Dad without hesitation. Called Ava Mama. He didn't know another life had ever existed. Didn't know there was a woman named Claire who once loved me in another lifetime. Didn't know the house he played in was built on broken ground. And he didn't need to. He was joy. Every part of him. And for a long time, that was enough. Just us. Ava's quiet strength. My steadiness. And Kevin's chaos. But nothing stays still forever. One evening, he was about 7, he came into my office holding an envelope. A small, cream-colored one. He held it up with 2 hands. What's this? I froze. Took the envelope gently. Saw the handwriting. Claire's. I had kept it in a drawer. Hidden. But not locked. He must have found it while rummaging for crayons or paper. I stared at it for a long time. Then looked at him. He was waiting. Not for the answer to what, but for the answer to why. I sat him down. Took a breath. And told him. Not everything. Just enough. That letter, I said slowly, is from someone who knew me a long time ago. Is she dead? He asked softly. No, I said. But we're not in each other's lives anymore. He looked confused. But why would she write to me if she's not here? I paused. Because sometimes people leave things behind, to explain who they were. And how much they wish they'd done things differently. He stared at the letter. Then back at me. Can I open it? Not yet. He frowned. Will I ever? Yes, I said gently. When you're older. When it makes sense. He thought about that. Then nodded once. Simple. Trusting. He handed the letter back to me. Okay. And just like that, he let it go. I didn't. But I respected his patience. He went back to playing. And I sat there with the envelope in my hands. Still sealed. Still full of weight. That night, Ava asked me something. We were sitting on the porch. Wine in hand. Kevin already asleep upstairs. What are you going to do with the letter? I looked out at the dark. I don't know. She nodded. Then said something that stuck. Maybe it's not about what he learns from it. Maybe it's about knowing you trusted him to decide. I looked over. You think I should give it to him? She sipped her wine. Shrugged. I think you'll know when it's time. Years passed again. And life moved with quiet grace. Kevin turned 10. Then 12. He got taller. Smarter. Bolder. He had questions. Big ones. About the world. About love. About choices. And one night, while we were walking the trail near the lake, he said something that stopped me cold. "Dad, have you ever loved someone you lost?" I didn't answer right away. He looked up at me. Waiting. Not judging. Just curious. I said, yes. He nodded slowly. Did it hurt? I took a breath. More than I expected. Less than I feared. He was quiet after that. And I was grateful. Because that's all I had to give. Not details. Not scars. Just truth. Simple. Steady. Real. On Kevin's 18th birthday, I handed him the letter. I didn't make a speech. Didn't explain it. Just handed it to him across the table. His eyes widened. Then narrowed. "Is this the one?" I nodded. He held it like something sacred. Didn't open it right away. Just held it. Later that night, I found him on the back steps. Letter open on his lap. Eyes glassy. He didn't speak. Neither did I. He just leaned his head on my shoulder. And I knew. He understood. Not everything. But enough. Claire died a year later. Willow called me. Said it was sudden. Peaceful. In her sleep. She'd been volunteering at a shelter. Keeping to herself. Writing in a journal every day. I didn't go to the funeral. But I sent flowers. Kevin asked me if I was sad. I said yes. Not for losing her. But for all the things we never got right. He nodded. Didn't press. And I was proud of him for that. Now he's 24. Living in the city. Doing well. Still calls me every Sunday. Still signs every card with "your son." Always. And sometimes, when he thinks I'm not paying attention, he'll look at Ava with the kind of admiration that tells me everything he knows about love he learned from watching us rebuild it. And that's enough. More than enough. Because after all the wreckage, after all the silence and letters and regrets, we made something good. Something whole. Something that didn't have to erase the past to become the future. And in the quiet that remains, I am finally